Well, may
We
I
don't.
just share my experience with poetry?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, as a matter of fact, I loved drama and novel. Okay, I would love to read plays and novels. That's just a fact. I've always had the trouble with poetry because of the way it was taught again. Okay, they taught
Yes.
us about
Yeah.
meter, how it sounds,
Yeah. Yeah.
how to create a rhythm, this and that and
Yeah.
the other, and simply look at a poem and say what we feel about it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I just looked at poems and felt nothing about them. It's like, how can I relate to the poem? You cannot just ask me to look at any poem and share my feelings about it. I mean, I have no background whatsoever. So just help me approach it in a different way. So
Exactly.
anyways, I hated poetry for that reason. And mind you, it's English poetry, English and Arabic poetry for that matter, where in Arabic it was even worse. I had to memorize the lines by heart because in exams I had to recite them, and maybe orally as well in oral exams. I mean, what suffering, okay, I had to go through.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I fully agree with you. Number one, another I would call it false assumption that, as you said, you were asked, what is the feeling you get and all that. No, to begin with, poetry is to be recited. And the person who needs to recite it, in our case, has to be the teacher, or you find a recording, if you can find a recording, because poetry, voice has a lot to do with poetry. It is all these nuances, all of these things that are coming out, the words. So it's got to be recited. The learners need to hear the end product, because this is what we need to get first. Then we start all this sensitizing. Then, to give you an example, I wish we don't have the time. There's a beautiful poem of Stanley Kunitz, The Approach to Thebes. Extremely language, amazing, wonderful English, rich language, adjectives that you've never thought you could find all together.
Can you repeat that again, please?
The Approach to Thebes, Stanley Kunitz, Kunitz. Some later time, Hannah, if you wish, we could just do The Approach to Thebes and just show how it's been done. It's based on the Oedipus myth. Anybody who says, read The Approach to Thebes and try to understand it, makes a mistake. First, you start with, do you know anything about the myth? Who was what? What happened? What happened to Oedipus? What happened to the Sphinx? What's the Sphinx? What was it? So, and I've taught The Approach to Thebes to B1 learners. It was an experiment, and it was a risky experiment, but I did it this way, and we managed it, and they enjoyed it. Yes, it took us time. I decided I would do this just to convince this beautiful group of learners what a wonderful experience poetry is. And so this is what I did. I started